Now time to take a look at what is grabbing headlines here in France. Today marking the third year, would you believe, that François Hollande began his presidency, an occasion really for critics to lash out against Hollande, starting with his arch political enemy. Could this be the former president Nicolas Sarkozy, Flo?
Could it be him? He seems to have a lot of bad things to say about François Hollande. And that's exactly what he does today in an exclusive interview with Le Figaro. So the head of the UMP, who's about to become the head of Les Républicains, the new name of the UMP that was just officially approved. You can see him here lashing out against his rival's track record, and he really doesn't mince his words today. What you can see on the front page here is Sarkozy essentially saying that under Hollande's watch, the French Republic has yielded too much, and you can see him saying here, we must stop going backwards. Now, in this interview, essentially what he says is that over the past 3 years, Hollande has broken the record of breaking promises. That's what he says, and his biggest promise that he broke, according to Sarkozy, was the promise that he would curb unemployment. It's been 3 years of deception, says Sarkozy. What a sad anniversary to mark.
And papers across the political spectrum really very critical of Hollande, particularly, of course, for his economic record.
That's right. The business paper, Les Echos, has very, very harsh words for Hollande today in their editorial. They call Hollande the president of minuscule steps forward and inefficiency. Not one of his economic reforms had been seen to the end without being mutilated. This is largely due to his incoherent lack of vision. Ouch. That's coming from Les Echos, the business paper. But what's interesting is perhaps one of Hollande's harshest critics today is the left wing of the left. Let's take a look at L'Humanité, the communist paper, that says that not only has Hollande destroyed the French economy with his social democratic line, he has destroyed the left wing. You can see they're talking about how Hollande has really dragged the left down a dead end. 3 years ago, Hollande promised change, and yet all we've seen over the past 3 years, according to L'Humanité, is Hollande lowering his arms and giving up.
Come on a minute here, Flo. I mean, François Hollande, he does have some supporters, doesn't he? One of his close allies giving an interview in Le Parisien
That's
today.
right. He does have a little bit of support, Hollande. And this is Stefan Rafael. He's the government spokesman, big friend of Hollande's, also Hollande's cheerleader today. He says that 3 years after Hollande's election, he feels like the country is doing pretty well and things are looking up. And anyway, according to him, Hollande could not have done things any differently. France was in a very big crisis and he didn't have very many solutions. So he says that Hollande has done a good job. Who he's lashing out against, you can see him here saying, J'en veux aux frondeurs. He's very mad at the socialist rebels, the so-called frondeurs. They're always criticizing the president, and they're never seeing what he's actually achieved. So Hollande is getting some support today. He's also really hoping that France is going to benefit from a wind of optimism, economic optimism that's blowing across Europe. You can see that here on the front page of the business paper, Les Echos. Les Echos confirms growth is coming to the EU, but unfortunately it's going to be stronger in neighboring countries, not so much in France. And Le Figaro also focuses on this detail. It says that France is lagging behind the rest of the European Union, and Le Figaro is actually worried that this economic recovery might be a trap, an optical illusion that's going to put wind in Hollande's sails and give him the confidence to confirm, to pursue his complicated reforms. That's what Le Figaro says.
Now, the French maker's also focusing on a mayor backed by the far-right National Front. We told you about it in the news. Been accused of racism, hasn't he?
That's right. This is Robert Ménard, the very controversial mayor of Béziers in southern France. You can read about all the details in La Croix today. So he was elected in 2014 largely thanks to the support of the National Front, and he's currently under investigation for counting school children with Muslim names. He says that his administration used lists of school children's names to decide how many of them were Muslim, and he claims the figure came up to 64.6%. So this is not only a very controversial way of counting potential Muslims, it's also illegal in France. And this is something that's a very important detail to keep in mind, is that France has very strict secular laws that basically prohibit the government from keeping statistics on people's religion or ethnicity. And so La Croix wonders, is Ménard not aware of this law, or is this just a blatant provocation?
He's no stranger to provocative scandals, though, is he?
That's right. That's what Le Monde reminds readers of today. Earlier this year, he was actually accused of turning Béziers into a Wild West after bragging about arming the local police. And Le Monde pulls up an old tweet where you can actually see a poster campaign that's trumpeting the new friend that these local policemen have, and this new friend is a handgun, essentially. So according to Le Monde, it wonders, though, is this new provocation about counting pupils, is this just an attempt to distract attention away from the National Front? After all, the National Front is going through some bitter inner fighting between Marine Le Pen and her father, Jean-Marie.
Looking forward to hearing about this next story. Some lighter news coming from the mysterious world of teenagers. I've got two myself and another one almost getting to that stage.
This is perhaps good news for you, Stuart. This is Le Parisien. They have carried out a vast study on 15 to 18-year-olds, and one of the most important results is this, that adolescents are fleur bleue. Fleur bleue is romantic, essentially. So they're more romantic and sentimental than we think they are. For instance, according to this study, 78% of boys and girls between 15 and 18 say that they've already been in love and that they're unabashedly romantic in their relationship. So it's pretty sweet detail about teenagers.
They're all very sweet, really.
They're all very sweet.
Yeah. I'm talking to my daughters there. All right, thanks, Flo. Flo Wilmino with the French papers on France 24.